Hello student, in the last class we discussed about the play Tughlaq. Now we will discuss about the play in detail. Girish Karnad's Tughlaq is a famous play. It focuses on the 14th century Turco-Indian ruler Muhammad bin Tughlaq. It is a historical play as well as a commentary on the contemporary politics of the 1960s. The Times of India comments about the play. In the play, the protagonist, Tughlaq, is portrayed as having great ideas and a grand vision, but his reign was an abject failure. He started his rule with great ideals of a unified India but has degenerated into anarchy and his kingdom. The action of the play Tughlaq takes place first of all in Delhi in the year 1327, then on the road from Delhi to Daulatabad, and lastly 5 years later in and around the fort in Daulatabad. Before he wrote Tughlaq, Girish Karnad started reading history widely. In an interview, Karnad says, "When I read about Muhammad bin Tughlaq, I was fascinated. How marvelous this was, I thought. Tughlaq was a brilliant individual, yet is regarded as one of the biggest failures. He tried to introduce policies that seem today to be far-sighted to the point of genius, but which earned him the nickname Muhammad the Mad. Then he ended his career in bloodshed and chaos." According to Pandey, Karnad closely sticks to history in his portrayal of Muhammad bin Tughlaq and his kingdom. Though there is a certain deviation for the sake of artists and dramatic purposes, in the very opening scene he portrays Tughlaq as a generous and charitable king. Tughlaq is shown to accept the Qazi's judgment graciously, in which he is held guilty of misappropriation of the land of Hindu Vishnu Prasad. Tughlaq also sanctions him a grant of 500 silver dinars and a post in civil services. In the crowd, an old man representing the orthodox class vehemently criticizes Tughlaq's liberal and rational policies. He says it is an insult to Islam, but the young man who represents the liberal says, "Now you pray 5 times a day because that is the law of you break it. You will have the officers on your neck. Can you mention one earlier sultan in whose time people read Quran in the street and like now?" Karnad projects the humanism and idealism of Muhammad bin Tughlaq excellently in his play. In the opening scene, Tughlaq, who is portrayed as a man totally estranged from the society, is not understood in the proper perspective, because his ideas were far above the reach and comprehension of the common people. There was devoid of religious tolerance in the age of Tughlaq. The Hindus and Muslims were unable to understand the broad minded religious tolerance of Tughlaq. His confidence building measures were not appreciated. All his attempts to bring about an understanding between the two varying communities brought distress. The changes brought about by Tughlaq proved a great threat to the time honored conventions. Tughlaq's frustration at the people's non comprehension is convincing. Tughlaq is frustrated because his idealistic dreams could never reach their distinction because they lacked the firm support of the people. He is fully aware of his mental predicament when he says, "But how can I explain tomorrow to those who haven't opened their eyes to the light of today?" At the bottom, as a visionary in Karnad's Tughlaq, Muhammad is at war with himself. He loves chess, rose garden, and enjoys the poem of Sade. He reads much Greek, and he is very much aware of Greeks in me. He speaks of his vision of finding a new world, a world I had not found in Arabs or even in the Quran. He builds a utopia in his vision. His visions are like the visions which led to Zarathustra or the Buddha. He constantly talks about tomorrow, a new future. He worries about the welfare of his subjects even in his sleep. He wants to exploit every single moment to read and understand the Pleiades and Ibn Matuza to make his subjects happy and prosperous. According to some historians, Tughlaq was a great lover of learning, particularly Greek. This is also perceived in Karnad's Tughlaq as a protagonist. He speaks about his inclination towards great philosopher. He was also well versed with the poetry of Rumi. His rational philosophy was not liked by the orthodox. There is no doubt Muhammad bin Tughlaq shows learning and scholarship in his behavior. Bunny, the chief advisor of Tughlaq, rightly tell about the learning of Sultan. You are a learned man, Your Majesty. You have known the world over for your knowledge of philosophy and poetry. The play can be seen as historical only in a very special sense that it could be seen embodying the Muslim idea of history as biography, like Babanama and Akbarnama. This serial enactment of the 20-year reign of Tughlaq could be seen as Tughlaqnama to reinforce the sense of the mirror of history. A character has also been introduced by Kannad, a court historian called Bunny. But perhaps not important, the play can be read as an enactment of projective memory, the past viewed as a projection of presence. The tremendous popularity of Tughlaq and its reception as a classic in Kannada literature is mainly due to the contemporary sensitivity. Tughlaq, in fact, enacts an Indian situation of an allying emperor, a dream of cities and empires subjecting the culture of the people to colonial strain. Bundy's definition of history aims at 2 points. The first one is lasting results, and the second point is that it is produced by learned man. Both these conditions are fulfilled in Kannad's Tughlaq, which is a historical play. Kannad, with his aesthetic and artistic adaptations, has presented Tughlaq, which has great interest for the populace and the political magnates of contemporary India. In Tughlaq, a historian may find lapse with regard to the accuracy of the facts of history. In fact, Kannad has made use of the Sultan's character to suit his theme that an idealistic ruler can't remain idealist. If he is ambitious of perpetuating his own power, Kannad uses the Sultan only as a background to make the people understand, judge, and interpret contemporary realities. His purpose is to show that in history, faces change but forces don't. Kannad's Tughlaq should be studied to find parallelism between the realities of the 16th century India, ruled by a sultan, and the 20th century democratic country governed by a prime minister and his colleagues in the cabinet. Kannad's own statement, which is quoted by Anant Murthy in his introduction to Tughlaq, what struck me absolutely about Tughlaq's history was that it was contemporary. The fact there was the most idealistic, the most intelligent king ever to come on the throne of Delhi, and one of the greatest failure also. And within the span of 20 years, this tremendously capable man has gone to pieces. This seemed to be both due to his idealism as well as the shortcoming within him, such as his impatience, his cruelty, his feelings that he had the only correct answer. Kannad mentions some facts of history and places them in the midst of imaginary incidents and situations to dramatize history in order to be of contemporaneous interest. During the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, the Hindus and the Muslims did not trust one another. The Muslim called the Hindu bloody infidels who deserved to be kicked, and the Hindus suspected the Muslims and could hardly believe that a Muslim ruler was going to see them prosper and to exempt them from taxes without having his own benefit in view. A Hindu says, "We did not want an exemption. Look, when a sultan kicks me in the teeth and says, 'Pay up, you Hindu dog,' this speech reflects the Hindu are molested and wrongly behaved by the sultan, while the sultan declares about the equality in the country. People are not in his favor completely in an age of religious fanaticism and hostility between Hindus and Muslims. His broad minded religious tolerance seemed foolish to the Muslim and cunning to the Hindus who suspect his motives. The young Muslims reacted sharply and violently to the statement of the Hindus and called him an ungrateful wretch. The old Muslim warned the young Muslim become a friend of the Hindu and said, 'Beware of the Hindu who embraces you. Before you know what he will turn Islam into another caste, call the Prophet an incarnation of his God.' Despite the best efforts of Muhammad to bring the Hindus and Muslims together and unite them in one bond of brotherhood, he failed. The reason of Tughlaq's failure is, as mentioned by Veena Noble Das, all his brilliant ideas were doomed to fail because they were implemented impulsively without weighing all the aspects involved. None of his schemes, however well intentioned, was understood or appreciated by his people, and none of them succeed. Tughlaq's ideas of creating a spirit of unity between Hindu-Muslim of 14th century still holds good. Gandhi in 20th century made attempts to unite the Hindus and the Muslims. Nehru followed Gandhi's footsteps. As a prime minister, he wanted the two communities to be two bodies with one soul, but he failed. There were Hindu-Muslim riots in the post-independence India and deep-rooted suspicion. Doubt and distrust disease the blood in the veins of this community. Karnad makes Tughlaq an idealist and established that in political idealism does not pay. It is bound to fail, especially when the idealist is impulsive. Tughlaq is an intelligent man and works meticulously for the people. Karnad astutely depicts the predicament of the Muhammad bin Tughlaq, the monarch of Delhi. The idealism, Tughlaq, and the subsequent political disillusionment of the period are often compared to those of the Nehruan era. Karnad himself suggests his parallel in an interview quoted in his introduction to Tughlaq. I felt early in the 60s India has also come very far in the same direction. The 20-year period seemed to me very much a striking parallel. Jawaharlal Nehru indeed shared with Tughlaq an over-ambitious dream to build a glorious India. Tughlaq forsook his rest and sleep to fulfill his dreams, but his idealism and vision were probably ahead of time and his subjects could not fit into his scheme of things, resulting in widespread social, economic and political upheaval and chaos. Tughlaq paradoxically restored to violence and cruelty for the implementation of his idealistic plans meant for public welfare. Aparna Dharwadkar considers this later phase in Tughlaq's career as bearing a resemblance with the rule of Indira Gandhi in contrast to the earlier phase, resembled the Nehruan era. The analogies with Mahatma Gandhi and Nehru thus foreground the more or less intentioned idealism of Tughlaq. Barney in the play first half and suppressed the cruelty, repressiveness and cunningness of Tughlaq achieves in the second. The analogies with Indira Gandhi and her political successors reverse this emphasis and bring the two halves of the play together. She is closest to Karnad's protagonist in her propensity for choosing evil out of compulsion to act for the nation in the self-destructiveness of her authoritarianism. The play demands a reading at two levels, one historical, other psychological or personal. However, it can be argued that the play is not about reading recent Indian history in the light of the period of Tughlaq, but also about the nature of subjectivity. It is to be noted that audience readers are led repeatedly into the consciousness of Tughlaq, and the mind of Tughlaq has an overpowering presence in the play. The two approaches intersect and lead to arguably the most fruitful reading if a critique attempts to understand subjectivity in the specific context of its formative historian situation. The political decision and innovative ideas of Tughlaq are very ahead of his times. His armies and subjects fail to follow him and become apprehensive about his motives. He pleads with them to cooperate. I have hopes of building a new future for India and I need your support for that. If you don't understand me, ask me to explain myself and I will do it. If you don't understand my explanation, bear with me in patience until I can show you the results. But please don't let me down. I beg you. Tughlaq tries to bring about religious equality, but fanatics like Imamuddin oppose him. The decision to move the capital from Delhi to Daulatabad is a step in the same direction, but the impracticability of the decision puts off the people and they vehemently oppose the Sultan. Faced with opposition from his own subject, Tughlaq declared, as I was too soft. I can see that now that they will only understand the whip. He becomes ruthless after this experience and orders everyone to move to Daulatabad. He killed all opponents of his project mercilessly, but he is soon hounded by a profound sense of guilt and turns to God. God in heaven, please help me. Please don't don't let go of my hand. I started in your path, Lord, why I am wandering naked. In this desert now, his words reveal in his utter disillusionment and his spiritual agony. He started on the path of benevolence, but being tragically ahead of his times made him a triumph against his wealth. Similarly, his vision of steering copper currency also ends in fiasco. His over idealism brings about his downfall, and his own people call him a madman and tyrant Ganesh. Kannad's Tughlaq is a representation of one of the most important but nevertheless neglected periods of Indian history. The reign of the 14th century Mughal emperor Muhammad bin Tughlaq remains till date one of the most turbulent periods of history. This is the first and the most significant play in the post independence period to have engaged with the Sultanate period in Indian history. This period brought an end to the golden age of classical Hinduism and introduced Islam as a dominant force. This is one of the most important phases of Islamic imperialism in India, but it remains neglected in the national imaginary because of the attention given to the later Mughal and British imperialism. In the narrative of the life and achievements of the economic Sultan, Kannad saw the possibilities of creating a drama about contemporary political turmoil. While Kannad eclectically borrows from a variety of sources like Ziauddin Bani's contemporaneous account of Tughlaq in Tahqiq Firoz Shahi 1357, he also freely blends fact and fiction to give the story of a contemporary relevance. The play then represents the hope and disappointment in the political life of the Nehruvian era in Indian politics. It voices the disillusionment of the people of Kannad generation with Nehru idealism. The play is a comment of the political scenario of the 2 decades after independence. Under Nehru's leadership, Nehru's vulnerability to failure, spite of overarching ambition and an uncompromising intellect, is parallel with that of Tughlaq. Kannad's Tughlaq is a significant intervention in history as also a site for the development of a creative analogy between the past and the present. The contemporary ascribed to a historical situation makes the play unique. Thank you. In the next class, we will discuss about the theme of Tughlaq.